he was making the point that like most people like us would have like $1 million and be stoked and put it back and save that and live off the interest and just have a nice life. And like right now, you could probably give, if you took away, let's say these billionaires,
Yeah.
if you took away all their money and left them with just $1 million in their savings account, right? 1 million. And then gave 1 million, you could give 1 million to like, probably like 1 million people or more, right? Like a huge section of the United States you could just give $1 million to. Especially if you did it as an experiment, you give it to people that like have their shit together, but not like fucking alcoholics that are gonna die anyway and spend $1 million on alcohol, but like just regular citizens that have their shit together, have a job. Just give all those people $1 million, and everything, all these issues that we're having will be solved. Because those people would save that money and live off it little by little and use it as a buffer. But these people that have 5 million or more, what are they even doing with it? Blowing it on ridiculous shit, like buying up all the fucking properties in the country. Like, what the fuck are they even doing? Keeping us everyone in slavery, And so that's the movement that's trying to happen in this country, is like this redistribution of wealth. And they do not like it, man. But I don't understand it. Like, people like us don't even understand it. Because if you had $100 million, would you really care about giving like 98 of it away? Like today.
Who? Oh, I don't.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you had, could you stand by and watch people suffer while you sat with, well, $2 million was plenty to keep you comfortable for the rest of your life, but that $98 million, you would just keep it in the bank?
Well,
you're gonna watch people suffer. Like,
I'm going to tell you a elongated answer, okay?
Okay.
Now, you can laugh at this, but I can.
Oh no.
I think I can identify with Nicholas II,
Okay.
and also kids in the school in. I think I'll tell you the story.
Who's Nicholas II?
He's one that was executed by the Bolsheviks in 1917.
Bolsheviks?
I'm reading Trotsky's book right now, The History of Russian Revolution.
Oh shit.
Which is very complicated.
Educate me.
He said he wished that they could have done it a different way than killing the Tsar and his family.
Mm-hmm. Overthrow, yeah.
But you get this idea about Nicholas II. His father said, when I turn 40, I'm going to start training my son up in the ways to do government. I'm thinking, you've already lost the kid. I've read about his life, early life, Nicholas II's life.
Yep.
The pomp and circumstance, I use that phrase, but it's true. The feathered hats, the helmets, the beautiful gowns, the big, what do you call that? What do you call ceremonies of horses and everything else, and the big banquets and everything?
Yeah.
His son went with him to the parliament, where the hell they had. He took down a few notes. His son, when he turned 40, his father died before he could train him in the ways of the government. Here's Nicholas II. He's got no background in official government running. He doesn't know how to make decisions. So it's not people on the bottom, they can't know what to do with themselves. That can happen on top too. Yeah. I think there's kids that are overlooked on the bottom, middle, and top. There's going to be a certain section of the population that people are going to go, well, we'll get to that later. And they never do until after they need them on that thing, whatever it is, or until their father dies or family takes over. You got people who don't know how to manage money as far as at will or in the state because they've never done it themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because the father and mother, one of the biggest crimes I think mothers and fathers say, we can't let our babies fail. I'm thinking, you have to.
Well, it's like you were saying earlier. It's like they're completely detached from normal society, and so they don't even really understand the simplest things.
Well, my thing is, if you're going to have that kind of apathy to a certain point in age, trying to get that back and get people back interested in the world, I don't know how people can do after a certain point in their life going, well, here's some money. Oh, thanks. I know kids that are younger than I am, and I've experienced the same thing. Who cares? That's another thing I think is bad about people going, why never was overburdening to my children? I'm thinking, well, it's like Rousseau, having children, men should born free type of thing, and men, they're in chains type of stuff. What's the guy's name? Marx? And Rousseau had this thing going, we'll go back to nature. Nature doesn't have that kind of attitude. Either you make or you don't, right? I don't know, baseball. We need to return to the old nature thing. And it sounds great. You know, the might makes right, the struggle for, you know, the Darwin talks about. There's something to that. At the same time, I think it's good. If you read into a kid, we'll get to it later. Then the apathy comes in, don't you think? Do you ever do anything constructive that we consider constructive at a certain point? Because you can say we got these programs for you, maybe no one cares about. That's what I'm trying to get at, right? I think there's a lot of people like that out here in the world going, what's wrong with them? Nothing. But if you don't have any goals or anything like important in your life, just go home, go to work, watch TV, get up in the morning. That can breed another type of apathy, don't you think? Like, why vote? My vote's not going to count anymore. So you know how that adds up after a while? Mm-hmm. It can happen in all spheres. Don't you think in all kinds of different economic and political things that can be brained in people and children when they grow up to be kind of like, yeah, well, it's not that important. Especially when the parents say to you, this is important to me, but they never do it. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about the apathy that gets bred to different people, because you can say to me, hey, John, let's take this movie now. I could say, yeah, I don't even seem interested anymore. I've seen that a lot in my life. I see it here in town. They go, okay, you've done it so.
That's because, but I think that's different. I think that's because
they don't have
people
money.
don't see a reason to try anymore because they've been beaten down so many times.
But that doesn't happen just on the bottom either. I think it can happen in any sphere.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's why I got a guy, a kid, drove his truck into
wealthy parents that spoil their kid, or poor people that
spoil their kids
on welfare
by buying stuff at McDonald's and Burger King all the time because the kids want it.
Yeah. Okay.
Not saying as a parent, I got a little responsibility teaching kids maybe a little bit about healthy eating. They may reject it, right? That's me. Why weren't you a parent? I said, I think I would have been the exact opposite based on my childhood. I think I would have been overdoing it. I got involved in the PTA meetings, and my kids are going to be in the plays. You'll go out for sports. Dad's going to buy all the footballs you want and basketballs because you need to be out there. You ever seen that before? The overindulgence parents make up for the lack of they had in childhood?
Yeah, of course.
Or they want to be like me. I'm a success. So you can get boxing gloves. And the kids are like, with some everlast gloves on going on. I don't give a damn, man. I don't know. I'm talking on my ass. I mean, when there's the coffee's kicking in.
Generally speaking, that my point about our country is that there is absolutely zero reason why anyone needs to be a billionaire and to be supported by this country. They should not be supported. They should be completely stripped. That's what we're working for, I feel. Completely stripped of that extra whatever. I mean, $1 billion is 1,000 millions, dude. 1,000 million. That's just not right. So if you have multiple billions,
when you reach like Warren Buffett, for example,
what the fuck are you gonna do with, dude? It's just a control. It's so obvious, and then you have all these poor people supporting like Trump or whoever the fuck. It doesn't matter who it is. You know what I'm saying? It's just like whoever the next guy is, thinking that they're gonna somehow benefit from that, and then they vote against people that want to do what's the income, universal income and shit. It's like, seriously? And they don't realize it's like that's not even by their standards or by today's standards. That's not even much money. All that is like, hey, you're not gonna starve, so you can like not panic every day and like go out and find work, and feed your family.
But the argument against that is
because we have that money. Obviously, if those people the billionaires have the billions of dollars sitting in a bank account, then we obviously have the money. So there's no excuse, period. Well, and the defense contracting that we're doing is over the top. I mean, the war spending. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, being the recipient of the military-industrial complex that I am,
yeah,
I agree with you. However, here's the deal. I still say about UBI is that a lot of people says they have not learned how to budget. I mean, of course,
it doesn't matter. So they spend it all.
Like last night I was told the reason they don't budget So you never had to begin with. You don't have anything in the budget.
Yeah.
How could you learn about that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you
But if they get it every month, they'll eventually figure out
I know.
that they can't spend this certain amount until they get the next check.
I was trying to get to that.
Right.
If they may start the first 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll blow everything. It's never had it before.
But the thing is, regardless of what you're talking about, because I agree with what you're saying too, but regardless of that, it's going to stimulate the economy. No matter what.
I'm talking about.
Because they'll spend it, and that's good.
I won't use your name.
What?
Mr. D.
Mr. D.
Dancing with Mr. D. You know,
Oh,
somebody.
you're taping this.
Yeah. Do you mind?
I forgot.
If you don't like, you can turn it off.
No, you shouldn't have said that because you brought attention to it. Now I know.
now you're conscious.
I know.
The last thing I guess I can move it.
Next time, just don't tell me. Tell me afterwards,
Yeah.
and then say, hey, I reported this.
Do
Do you care? And I'll be like, what did I say?
One night you said, I'm going to send a video to the High Shirt Giant channel and go, hi, man, we have a mask on, like talking to this. Oh, I was in that video. That was not me talking.
Right.
There's somebody else at John.
I just wish you would have started it earlier when I was making all those good points.
Some of the best
See?
points.
See, there I go.
Some of the best things that ever happened to me on these trails, I had the phone off.
I know.
So I've had the phone on sometimes, like I'm walking around in the forest and everything, nothing happens. The phone, they turn it off, and then a bird flies around our head or something like that like a couple times. There's nothing taking it.
Yeah.
So put the phone back on again, nothing happens. Would you do that? Except for that animal carcass, you saw that one time. I like animal carcasses because you're sitting there going, what was that thing? Was it a gazelle or a dog? My opinion is, you let me continue with this, that a lot of people are going to, the first year, they're going to fuck up. But for a lot of people, it's probably the first time they ever had responsibility in that.
Yeah.
And people are going to think themselves to death, and they're going to take their money and buy shit they don't need, right? I got that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
No, but there'll be a segment of people that will realize.
That's the point of doing it across the board.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but they'll realize, I can do this.
Yeah.
And people are going to give themselves.
No. And you're forgetting about the whole idea that you ever feel supported in your life, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like I really want to go out and do things now because maybe just someone just said, hey, I think you're a good writer. I think you should write, or anything. That, in my opinion, is a sort of a financial, a monetary example of, hey, I believe in you. Because imagine if you're just like you feel like a piece of shit, go in the bottom of the government shoe, and you just think everybody wants you to die and you're worthless. But then all of a sudden you start getting this check in the mail, regardless of the fact that it's money, and regardless of the fact that tons and tons of people are gonna, spend it on drugs and alcohol or whatever, and maybe die off from it. Who knows? But you're gonna have those people that are gonna be like, "Oh wow, my country believes in me."
Well, another thing is
healthcare, though, I think is more important.
William Buckley said one time, talk about why he supported drug legalization for all drugs.
Yeah.
He said in the beginning, people will experiment with the drugs and everything. What's going to happen is it's going to come down to the same level it was before drug legalization. People that wouldn't take it are not going to take it.
Absolutely. It's just like any other scientific principle, like where everything in the fucking universe they have proven eventually with mathematical equations levels off eventually. Sometimes it's like a spike this way, then a spike that way, and then a spike this way, but then eventually it levels up to some sort of median, and that's the way all organisms behave. It's scientific. It's not emotional. It's not this bullshit that people are spouting in politics. Because if they're spouting against it, in my opinion, it's because they have an agenda to keep the poor people down, to keep us in slavery for their benefit. And like I was saying originally, I think it's just fear-based. Those people are afraid at this point because they have so much to lose, and they're afraid of what it's like to be down here, which is not bad. You and I know it's not bad, but they think it's terrible. They're the ones that think it's terrible down here. And so they're doing everything they can do everything they can do to avoid coming down to our level. Or realistically, what would happen is that if we balanced out the money in this country, is you'd have the poor class coming up to a middle, and the wealthier people coming to the middle, and they don't want that.
What's the point in that?
What's the point in what?
Finding
leveling it off?
Yeah.
I don't know. Giving everyone health and a life to live. I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be too dramatically different from what's going on now. It's just because that inevitably that is where it's going.
You think so?
Yeah, you can only oppress a large number of people for so long before it blows up in your face. Not to mention our economy is total bullshit. Like the way it works is total bullshit, and there isn't, what's it called, Fort Knox. There isn't like a gold standard. There isn't any of that shit. It's all bullshit. It's all numbers, That they're using money is a lie first and foremost to keep us oppressed. Like that was created to keep us oppressed, because it used to just be like, hey, John, I'll come over and chop up some of your wood in your house, in your yard with you. If tomorrow you'll come over and help me slaughter and break apart this cow, and then or you'll give me some of your wood and I'll give you some of my cow. Then it turned into they decided to create money, and this is like pretty philosophical, but like if you believe in why money was created, it's like to be corrupt, because if it was just created to be trading, we wouldn't be in the debacle we're in now. We wouldn't have billionaires. They created it so that the people in charge of the money could be like, oh, well, I'll give you this for your wood, and I'll give you that for that, and like all of a sudden, you've got people doing all your work for you because you printed up some extra money.
When did this start happening, you think?
I don't know, like time-wise.
In ancient Greece, I suppose.
Well, that fell, so it was reestablished in this country.
No, but that's how long it's been going on. I mean, how are you going to buck that system that's going on since time immemorial?
Right. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I'm just saying it's very easily corruptible. I understand, obviously, why you would use money, because it's so complex now. The trading is too complex, so we need some representation of that. But it was so easily corrupted. And so people that took charge of money, to put it simply, just printed themselves more money. And said, you know what, I'm a billionaire now. I mean, that's way oversimplifying it. But I mean, if you look at the stock market, what the fuck is that? It's a bunch of people trading pieces of paper saying, like, I'll trade you this or that, and then giving themselves like millions of dollars in commissions based on nothing, dude, except for knowing how to.
So how would you plan
the system?
How would you plan to level everything off again? What would you do?
Look, I'm not trying to say I have like any solution to any of this.
Well, then,
but I do think basic income as a start toward the reason I believe in universal basic UBI, is the same reason I believe in universal health care. It's no different. But healthcare, because if you had UBI in this country before healthcare, it would all be spent on healthcare anyway.
The thing is,
right? Wouldn't most people just fucking finally pay off their doctor bills or finally get the treatment they need with that money?
I don't know.
Well, what would you do? I mean, if you had, that's what I'm saying, like if you didn't have the coverage you have now and then suddenly you were getting $1,000 and you needed the dental and you needed certain things, that would be the first thing on your list, right? Other than like food and
possibly,
shelter and heat,
Well, that's another thing is.
But possibly even before food. What if you had a really, really, really bad problem?
One thing with your utopian idea about the UBI working for everything, and healthcare and everything is.
It's not a fix at all. It's just
No, it's not a fix. I'm not trying to.
It's a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid. Yeah. But also, I've read a lot of utopian ideas, like, I never read Sir Thomas More's Utopia. I read dystopian too, the exact opposite, of course, which is what we're into right now, is dystopian. And both sides take the extreme viewpoint of the completely oppressed, where the utopian vision, we can all be one big happy family working toward this, with the, what do you call those things, the robots and everything else around us? And
AI.
AI and the Foreman project. I don't know how that would be implemented. And you're right about certain things. I understand that people need that. But as far as implementing the whole process to the whole population. I don't know how that's going to work. I mean,
Well, the reason that, but the thing, you just hit the nail on the head there. Like the reason they're just even talking about it is because of AI. You know, remember Andrew Yang's platform?
oh yeah,
Because you, if AI starts to take over, then it's really going to look bad for like low class the factory working class. What are they supposed to do? You know, what are truck drivers supposed to do? That's like millions and millions of people. You can't just be like, well, we figured out how to do this. Like, the whole point of technology is to make our lives better. And so, if you're not going to limit like the number of people that are born in this country, you're not going to, you know, start getting all dystopian and like cutting off the number of births and cutting off people when they're like past 70, like just killing them. You're not going to start doing shit like that. And you have to say, how are we going to take care of all these people? Because if there just aren't the jobs, does that just mean that you have to fight for 100 people have to fight for one job, and then the 99 that don't get it have to basically be in some form of prison or slave camp? You know, like like where does that eventually go? You know, and so I think the people that are speaking up now are just trying to say, hey, like, let's try this to stimulate growth.
Well, Trotsky wanted to really implement communism the way that Marx set it up in Russia. He really wanted to do that. I think he was seriously the egghead of the group that wanted to see if this works or not.
Mm-hmm. But that's different.
No, I think the reason...
With AI coming, it's different. You have to remember. You can't look at past attempts at communism and see how they failed and apply that to today. Realistically, right? Because of the technology that we have.
Let me finish and say.
I'm sorry.
The reason it didn't work is because Stalin came in with his power hungry. You know, I don't know how he was in Russia. Really, how we read him in the United States. Maybe Walter Duranty was right. Maybe he wasn't as bad as we portray him. I don't know. Okay. But his viewpoint of Russia, which Svetlana, I don't know if she would watch this video. She said Russia needs a dictator. They need to keep things going, which is totally antithetical to what the United States teaches. Even though we kind of have a dictatorship in a lot of things in this country, but that's not overtly done with a figure, right?
No.
You know, and
it's more underground.
My thing is, I think this organic thing about you said about UBI and the underclass and everything. You can legislate all you want to, but the idea of organic stuff, when people start going, I can control my own life now through this money or whatever it is, and this property. Mm-hmm. That to me is much better than having these programs that come out that almost always fail.
Yeah.
Because they're not meeting the needs. You think we'll give money out to people? No, but they're not talking.
Because that comes across as government control. But the other thing comes across as, here's some money, do what you want, what you think is best.
Well, you know there's going to be resistance from that from a lot of people because the racial algebra bullshit thing, you raise yourself by your bootstraps in the country.
Yeah. Which is impossible.
Here is what the Bible...
You knew that was meant to be a joke, right?
It was, yeah.
Well, because you can't do it. It's like a cartoon. Like, you can't pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Ha, ha, ha.
Well, the guy who wrote the book, Horatio Alger, he liked little boys, too, I thought. But if you're going to do that kind of thing with expecting people to rise themselves up and everything, that kind of thing, the process takes a while. And I think I don't like when somebody says, why isn't this thing working? I'm thinking some things may not result in 20 years from now. Maybe you'll say,
yes.
Maybe the next generation will go, you know what? We get it, right? I think that's one trouble with the world is they want instant results, man. Yeah. People change their morality.
That's the problem, yeah.
That goes across the board. It's not just Republicans, there's Democrats want the same thing, right? We expect as human beings want things to change right away. Yeah. Ain't gonna happen, man. It may take a while.
All I think it is that instead of getting someone to pick up themselves up by their bootstraps, you give them a fucking stool.
The same thing that the Bible says, if you don't work, you don't eat. Yeah. Here's what I read into it. Yeah. Paul's talking to a specific group of people is you got to get out and get a job because we can't support you. Yeah. People take that scripture out and they go, dude, you got to work. I'm thinking,
if you got a crowd of people running down the street, right, and someone falls down, like in most situations, we're still very compassionate people in that if somebody fell down in a crowd and we're all running, they're going to fucking pick that person up
Well,
and get them going into the crowd again instead of trample them.
I don't know,
I'm just
man.
saying. Well, I'm just saying, like, what would you do?
In a riot? I don't know.
Not in a riot. I'm just saying, if you see okay, fine. If you see somebody walking down the street and they fall down, you're just gonna walk past them, or you're gonna put your hand out.
I don't know.
Well, you're looking too far into it. I'm just saying, like, you're thinking about like what's the person like or whatever too. Like, I'm just saying, generally speaking, why is it so bad to help our fellow man? You know, I don't understand that. Because in essence, if we're not going to, then we are killing people that are weak, like animals. And we're not animals anymore. We're civilized beings.
Well, then you get to that philosophical question talked about by H.G. Wells, was it? Yeah, I don't know, Dr. Moreau. Are we not men? The idea of taking these human, whatever they are, these men that have been, I don't know what the hell they were doing. I forgot the movie with it's the Orson Welles, but his wannabe Marlon Brando was in it. Awful movie, but there's a question: are we not men? What are we? And that's the other thing is that these scientific, like The Fly by Jeff Goldblum, people think that was a bullshit movie. I think it was prophetic of people wanting to be something different, scientific. And I'm sure there's all kinds of scientists have done that and everything. Don't you think they kind of like trying to be part animal and part people?
Uh-huh.
That can happen in our society when we decide that, well, not like the Nazi experimentation, of course, but which resulted in a lot of good. I can't use that word in good, Nazi and good, because I'm also.
There's good people on both sides, John. What are you talking about?
Oh, no, there isn't. But you can only hate one side. But
That was a Trump quote. He said that on television when he was talking about the people in, was it Georgia?
the good people on both sides.
Yeah, he said good people on both sides.
Which sides are you talking about?
He's saying on both sides of the. He was talking about the fucking racist movement that was happening. You know, that march it was in Georgia or something on the campus where like Jews will not replace us. Or white supremacists. He's saying there's good people on both sides, like white supremacists and non-white supremacists. Do you believe that? He sounded like he did believe that. But that's why a lot of people that's why it was a very divisive comment, because on the one hand, you have a lot of people, hopefully the majority of people in this country going, what? That's not right. You can't say that. And then a bunch of people on the other side of it going like, yeah, there's good, just because you're racist doesn't mean you're a bad person. And that's divisive.
Well, don't you think that all of this?
I'd rather just keep the racism down, deep down, than bring it up like that, because then you're gonna have people trying to like actually install a racist president, which is, I feel, what we just went through.
There's a
you?
man named Marcus Garvey who lived in America. He tried to raise money to go back to Africa. Black people go back to Africa.
Right.
He did not like the NAACP at all. He had no use for those people. But there were power-hungry black people on top trying to keep the masses of black people stupid. And he said, I'd rather hang out with KKK members. I know where they stand. These guys, they're all just faking their finger just to the wind of, oh, what are you doing? We should go this direction. He goes, either it's right or it's wrong from the beginning. You don't judge by what people think about where the country's going. Is it right or wrong from the beginning? And he said, with Klansmen, he said, I understand them because they don't like me. Right down the line, I'm black, you don't like me. The people on top that are they're supposed to be my representatives, they're not in it for the right reasons. And I thought, when you take that kind of thing into account from a black person, not a white person saying that, you don't hear his name at all mentioned in the great Americanist, Marcus Garvey. He's kind of like forgotten. He has asked the question, why would you want to keep your black people down? Because they get nice positions and that can happen to anybody, don't you think?
Yeah.
Any group of people can have these lofty positions. They forget about people on the bottom until they get their own agenda.
Yeah.
You can be Jewish, you can be atheist, whatever it is. Don't you think?
Only lump them all together as basically this lesser than.
Yeah, like the last election, I know a guy in town who I was going to tell you about. He's a very staunch Democrat. He said, "Can you believe Joe Biden's in?" He started laughing. He goes, "I can't believe that guy's in there." He didn't like him.
Right.
And the people are going, just going, "Well, you've been Democrat. Well, you got to vote for Joe Biden." And the idea is, no, I don't have to vote for anybody if I don't like him. That kind of thinking is bad too, don't you think? I've done it this way the whole life. So therefore, if it's a Democrat, I got to vote for him. I'm thinking, no, a lot of Republicans didn't like Donald Trump. So you got,
But they voted for him.
they voted for him because they didn't like the other guy, which is
Well, no, because they want to keep a certain regime in place.
Well, I know Hillary running for
Because now it's
president.
like a regime thing.
Hillary running for president. I thought, come on, man. Of all the corrupt individuals to have up there,
I still don't think this is over too. I think that they're going to try to force Donald Trump or keep Donald Trump in office somehow.
I don't.
They're going to try every way possible.
The last election in 2016, I voted for the Nutrition Party. I
The
couldn't.
what?
Nutrition Party. It was on that. I went down the list going.
Nutrition.
Yeah, it's like some guy who owns some kind of like health fitness center across the
For
country.
real? I never heard of it.
Well, you go down the list of those people that are fifth about the top contenders. It says down the bottom. Kanye West is on this one too. I almost voted for Kanye. I won't tell you who I voted for. I'll keep my mouth shut. But I don't.
Yeah, don't say who you voted for.
If I told you,
I don't really care anymore though, because
if I voted for the American Constitution,
Biden was elected, and I don't.
that's a whole. Don't you think that's the problem when someone says that? Mine's elected, so I don't care anymore. I'm thinking, usually keep rising with who you voted
Not
for.
mine, not mine. The regime change is happening.
Is it?
I hope.
Well, when President Harris, when she becomes president, hey,
I'm just saying, the voting process of the regime change is over. That's what I'm saying.
Do you think President Harris is going to do a good job? Do you think being a black woman, she will bring new things to that?
I don't really know her that well, but
You read about her?
from what I've seen of her speeches, I've liked. Because I think, dude, if we had all women, we would be better off. If it was all women.
All women run the government?
Yeah. The whole country, yeah. So that's where I'm coming from.
Might be interesting.
Because we need more empathy, compassion. We need
Do you think we're more
people that
compassionate
fucking
men?
care. Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Holy shit.
You're here with Lisa Koch?
I'm not saying there's not shitty women. I'm just saying.
Okay.
You asked if I think women are more compassionate than
I
men.
did, yeah, I'm not
And
gonna argue
I would
with
say
that,
100%.
What do you think would be difference? The different.
Just because one woman